We want to clean in the paint. We're going to call hand checking and body checking, and sportsmanship is an absolute must. Okay.
He lets it fly. Oh, I can't believe it.
Welcome back to Two Shots in the Ball podcast, episode 3. Jim, we made it to our third episode without, getting canceled or the FCC calling us about your language. We are really, really excited today to introduce our guest for this week. So our guest for this week, and we've been talking about it and promoting it, is a member of the University of Michigan men's basketball team. He's a 3-time academic All Big Ten selection, a 4-time U of M Athletic Academic Achievement Award winner. He helped lead the Wolverines to the Big Ten Tournament Championship this past season, as well as an NCAA tournament run to the Sweet 16. He was one of only 5 Michigan players to play in every game last season, while also being considered by some one of the nation's most efficient scorers. He is known as an energetic leader in the locker room, on and off the court for the Wolverines. Two Shots in the Ball is excited to welcome in Will Tschetter from the University of Michigan basketball. Will, thanks for joining us today, my man.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you,
Excited
man.
about it.
Yeah.
Are you in Ann Arbor currently?
Yep, just got back to Ann Arbor this week. As we like to say, season's starting here in a few weeks. We got summer workouts, and you're basically in it till April. So really excited about this upcoming year. Obviously, last year was a lot of fun. So just kind of build on it and have another really exciting year.
Awesome. All right, so let's start at the beginning of Will Tschetter. Your parents were both college athletes. Your mom holds the scoring record for career points at North Dakota State. She was a 3-time All-American and 3-time national champion. Your dad was a starting wide receiver at North Dakota State, scoring 3 touchdowns his senior year. How did your parents impact your interest in sports growing up? And was it hard, or was there pressure being the son of 2 highly successful college athletes?
Yeah, it's actually kind of a funny story. You would expect for there to be a lot of, like parental influence growing up, but there really wasn't much of that at all. Actually, we didn't really play sports, my brothers and I, until we actually moved overseas, and that's kind of when we started to kind of develop our love for sports. And when we moved back to the States, that's kind of when I started getting into taking basketball seriously. Believe it or not, I was actually really, really bad until my freshman year. I was on the B team my 7th and 8th grade year for traveling basketball. But obviously, when I came up with the dream of, playing in March Madness at the Division I level, my parents were there and very, very supportive. They were also very, very real with what that would take, what that would look like, the sacrifices I would have to make in high school. A lot of Friday and Saturday nights in the gym, hanging out with my brothers. My brothers were, my best friends in high school, playing out on the court outside. Parents were very, very gracious to pour us a full concrete basketball court next to our barn. So that was kind of where we spent all of our time.
How many brothers do you have?
I have 2 younger brothers. So one just started his freshman year at St. John's in Minnesota. He had a red shirt, unfortunately. He broke his wrist at the beginning of the year. And then I have a sophomore brother who's just finishing up his sophomore year back home in Stewartville. And so, yeah.
Who's the best basketball player in the family, Will?
Come on, man.
Your mom.
Your mom.
Honestly, by the numbers, it's probably my mom.
Your mom.
So that leads me to the next question, Will. You just kind of touched on it a little bit. Growing up, you were involved in a lot of sports and extracurricular activities. In high school, you led the state of Minnesota in scoring as a junior. As a senior, you were runner-up Mr. Basketball to a guy who's going to play in the NBA Finals this year, Chet Holmgren, and led your team to the state championship game. You were the starting quarterback on your high school football team with major college offers in football. And you were the state champion in the discus your senior year. Also, something I figured out that I don't know if you want broadcasted, but we're going to. Little known fact about Will Tschetter: you played the French horn for your high school marching band. In today's athletic climate, where there is so much pressure on kids to specialize in one sport at the high school level, how do you think your multi-sport and multi-activity experience in high school helped shape you as a person and as an athlete, as a Division I basketball player?
Yeah. Whenever somebody comes to me and says like, oh, I'm just going to focus on basketball, 9 times out of 10, I kind of like just like laugh at them. Like, unless you're one of the top 50 kids in the country, like, I think it's such a joke that kids kind of specialize. I think that you can get so much. Like, my football coach in high school said this, and I've like never really forgotten it. Like, one of the best lessons you can learn in high school sports is just how to compete. And like, you can't replicate competition like Friday Night Lights, or I mean, even discus. You scratched your first 2 throws, you got 1 throw left to go to the state tournament, and you got to make that throw happen. Like, just like that pressure and that competition that comes with that can't be replicated by, doesn't matter how many workouts or how many pressure drills you do in workouts. Like, it just can't be replicated. So I think that especially for like young high school athletes, playing as many sports as you can is just so important. And it was one of the rules in our family. And I think this year is the first year that my mom and dad won't have a kid going through high school who's playing 3 sports. I think my brother quit golf. But like, it was always a rule for at least my middle brother and I that we had to be in 3 sports. And I tried I started off in baseball in the spring. I was throwing pitches over the backstop, so that had to stop. Then I went to running distance to stay in shape for AAU. Wow. And I was, just imagine, 6'8", trying to run the 800. I was last every single time.
With the anchor?
Yeah.
Nah, yes, I was the plow. People were telling me to unhitch the plow. And then eventually, I started, messing around with the discus my senior year, and found out that I turned out to be really good at it. And
just so happened, I was so good I won a state championship at it.
Yeah, I just decided to chuck out a 175.
Wow.
Yeah. Getting back to it, I just think that it's so important to just compete and compete and compete, and I think that's carried over to college. And whatever I do, I just love competing, and that can be such an edge for so many high school athletes. As far as the French horn goes,
I was going to ask you follow up on
that. That was also a prereq. All my brothers and I have been in band. I played trumpet I started when we lived in China, and then I played trumpet until 10th grade, then played the French horn for 2 years, and then went back to trumpet my senior year.
No kidding.
So
where's the instrument? Is it behind you? Could you pick it up and play it right now? No?
I actually passed it off to my younger cousin. So
it's not like a party favorite in Ann Arbor where you get requests.
No.
Awesome. And another follow-up. What football significant? What Michael said offers? Like, who was offering you from football?
Iowa State, Iowa, NDSU, SDSU,
North Dakota.
Yeah, but I kind of ended up closing down my recruitment after my sophomore year, because there was just, it's so different. Like, basketball and football recruiting is just like such a different world. And football is like, you're so easily replaceable. There's so many kids. I was getting recruited more as a tight end, not as a quarterback, just because of my frame. And I was probably on my way to being a tackle, to be completely honest, and putting on a bunch of weight. But it was just not for me. I valued my brain. Quite frankly.
Yeah.
And I just loved like playing basketball. In football, you can't really, you could play pickup year round. In basketball, you can't really, replicate, that game in football, unless, you're playing those 12, 13 games a year. So that was just kind of where I decided to go, and kind of shut it down after my sophomore year, and just decided to focus recruiting side on basketball, but obviously still played football all 4 years.
and then moving on from that, you were recruited. I think if I do my math right, during the COVID
Mhm.
time frame. How difficult was that? What was that process like?
Yeah, it
Was
was.
a lot of Zoom recruits or Zoom
Yeah, a lot of
calls?
FaceTime, a lot of Zooms. It was kind of hectic because COVID hit after I was coming off my junior year. When I had I wouldn't say that I blew up my junior year, but that was kind of the season in high school that I was coming off, averaging like 35, 36 points. So it was um, like kind of starting to pick up a little bit more, going from low and mid major to high majors. And I had a few schools that I really really liked, going from my sophomore to my junior year in like Colorado State and Northern Iowa. And then when it kind of picked up and I started to get some of the Big Tens, the SECs, and stuff like that, um, it was a lot. It was just kind of a shift. It was a lot of Zooms, a lot of just going off their word. Like it was hard to
right.
kind of decipher out who was real, who was fake. So many times you get those spiels where it's, um, kind of cookie cutter. They're sharing it to everybody, and then you're not getting, um, like the real message. And honestly, I mean, you'll talk to Phil next week. He was probably one of the only guys from those high major programs that were keeping it real. He was like, you're not gonna, you're not at the absolute top of our list, but your offer's committable. We really wanted to have you here. And I really, really respected him and Jawan for that. And obviously with what the University of Michigan, brought to the table academically, connection wise and things like that, it was just too good of an offer to pass up.
You mean it wasn't Kevin that locked it in for you?
I didn't know Kevin until like 3/4 of the way through my freshman year.
Yeah.
Man.
How did you ultimately decide on Michigan, Will? Like, did you commit sight unseen, like having never visited, or did you make an actual visit?
Yeah, so one of my mom's like biggest things, and my dad's, was that I had to see the campus before I committed to a school. So when I was kind of running down to my final couple schools, I was taking visits, or like kind of just like road trip visits to the places that I could maybe like see myself. And obviously Ann Arbor was one of them. Oh, excuse me. And so I went out and drove out with my mom and just walked around the campus and kind of, got a feel for things. And that was kind of right when COVID was kind of ending and opening back up. So I could kind of see Ann Arbor and just really see myself here. And on the drive home, like right outside of Chicago, I think I called Jawan and told him that I was coming. Um, so yeah, I just knew as soon as I was here, and from what the coaching staff had said, what I had heard, and I had a talk with, like the school that I kind of wanted to go into. I talked to a few of the professors and what they had said. So it was kind of like a holistic approach to the university. Obviously, basketball is, what I spend the most of my time on, but those other factors needed to be right too, and they just fit really, really well.
Yeah, and a lot of times today, I'm going to stay on topic here. You see kids that are committing to schools without knowing whether the academic side or the social side is the right fit for them. So it sounds like you did a lot of homework with your parents on what was the right fit for you and your family.
Yeah, I think that's probably part of the reason why I'm a cockroach around here and I haven't left.
Anybody's calling you Van Wilder yet?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
because it just, I did that homework up front and,
Yeah.
knew that it was going to be the right place for me.
Great story.
So what has been, if you can think back to when you first got to Ann Arbor, what was the biggest adjustment for you from high school to playing at Michigan? Whether it was, the on the court stuff and the physicality, or was it the adjustment to the academics and the time management and all the things that go into being a Division I player?
Yeah, honestly, I'm very, very fortunate that I was able to redshirt my freshman year. That was so key and instrumental for the player and the person I am today. I was a very immature freshman, didn't really know how to manage his time. I don't even think I had my schedule figured out until about a week and a half into the About a week and a half into the semester, I was scrambling like crazy. Didn't know how to manage, like my workouts. I was burning out, getting sick, with my academics, late assignments, stuff like that. So to be able to, kind of have like that buffer year was so, instrumental, and very, very glad that I did that. I know, a lot of kids will say, oh, my ego won't let me redshirt, or
Yeah, I
like
was
I
going
just
to ask
can't
you,
do
how
that.
did you
Not
feel about
play.
it at the time? Like, because a lot of kids at 18 years old can't see past their nose sometimes, right? So that,
Yeah.
I just wonder what your thought process was at the time. Looking back, you obviously think it's the best thing that happened to you. But
Mhm.
at that time, was it frustrating for you at that time?
No, yeah, it was very, just like your whole identity. Like every single one of those kids in the University of Michigan gym, like, was the dude at their high school. So for me to go from, having the ball in my hands, getting buckets every night in high school, to playing off the ball and maybe getting one or two shots, in practice, was very, very hard for me, and something that I just needed to accept. Learning how to move off the ball, developing my basketball IQ, things like that. So I would say that right away it was kind of tough to come to terms with, because I didn't really know that I was redshirting until a few games into the season. But after I had kind of that peace of mind that, I need to buckle in and get ready for the next couple years, and this is going to really help me out in the long run. Then my mind shift kind of changed to, okay, like, let's develop your IQ, develop physically. And then honestly, another big part of it was, let's graduate in 3 years and then get a master's degree as well.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's
And,
unbelievable.
save a few $100,000. So,
Yeah.
so that was kind of like what my mindset was. And, my parents were obviously very, very supportive of that. The coaching staff was super, super supportive of that. And obviously super, super grateful that I'm able to, be here for this last year.
Great story. Going back to when you went from high school to Michigan, I know we talked about the game is so much more physical. Obviously, got to stand out. I don't know if you've heard, but my family likes to say I joined the dark side and I referee now. Do you guys talk about officiating, refereeing adjustments from either game to game and scouting? Or I don't want to get you in trouble because you have to play again with some refs.
No.
And we're all good dudes. But you've been there 5 years. You got to have first name basis. But do you guys talk about that officiating?
Yeah, we joke about it. I don't know if we really talk about it. I mean, we'll talk about, let the coaches handle the refs.
Mm-hmm.
But, we definitely have in our mind, when we see those refs walk out of the tunnel, we're like, either like, oh, crap, or we're like, oh, yeah, we're good. Because refs have their favorites and we have our favorites too. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's not really it's not part of like the game plan or anything like that. We don't really usually know until the night of.
Yeah,
when
when
we
you
walk
walk
out
out.
onto the
Yeah.
court, and then we'll look like right on like the side of like where like the score clock is, and they got all the names up, and we'll be like, all right, good.
Yeah.
So we'll be like, oh crap. No, yeah, but you definitely have your guys. Like, I definitely have my guys that I know on the first name basis that I
I
can
would
kind of
imagine.
BS with out there, and I definitely have the people that I butt heads with. So, especially for someone who has a little bit of a record of following a little bit, you got to know
I didn't
you
know.
you got to know who's who.
Yeah. Who's gonna call it? Who's not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
good for you. You were talking a little bit about coming out of the tunnel during the season. What interests me what's your day like during the season? A day of a student athlete basketball player at Michigan.
Mm-hmm. You want a game day, or you want just like a off season or in season?
Like
In
in-season.
season.
Yeah,
In
like,
season.
how
All right, we'll go
stressful
in
is that?
season practice day. Usually wake up, eat a big breakfast. Um, Depends on the day of the week. I like to do it where I load up my classes on 2 days a week. So usually my Tuesdays and Thursdays are like 5 hours of class, and then Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays I always have off. I never schedule classes on Fridays. And then Mondays
Thirsty
and Wednesdays
Thursdays
are
getting away.
like maybe one class, maybe no class. but a class that maybe I'll know will like go online or be asynchronous, or, a professor may not show up, or I don't need to go or something like that. So, you got to be very, very strategic about that. But usually, if I do have a lot of class that day, I won't normally work out before practice. I'll normally like work out after, depending on, what practice looks like that day. But if I don't have any class that day, I'll usually wake up, get like a light shooting workout in, like maybe like 30 minutes. So nothing crazy. And then go to my class, come back, and then we'll usually lift before practice, and then go to practice, and then sometimes even lift after practice, and then training table, go home, homework, watch college basketball, hang out with my girlfriend, and then go to bed.
Rinse and repeat.
Rinse and repeat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's Groundhog's Day, but obviously, it's a lot of fun when you're hanging out with your boys every day.
Yeah, and the experience.
True that.
As you guys know, you got, our coaching staff is great. We got, 15 managers that are all the boys too. We got, everyone on the team. So it's really like a really, 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 Mike, you've been at practices, like super tight knit community. And
yeah, it's like a brotherhood. Everybody is all in on it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, exactly. So, ton of fun to be around.
So on that topic, I've been to a number of your practices and games at U of M. Your effort and energy, Will, on a daily basis is really impressive. Recently, Coach Dusty May said about you, he's not sure he has ever seen a better teammate than Will Tschetter. As a coach, I talk to our players all the time about consistent energy and effort, and it's kind of a topic that a lot of coaches use. It's hard to find a player, though, who never takes a day off. You seem to embody that. How do you maintain that level of energy every single day? Because there's days, like I talk about, it's doing it when you don't feel like it are the most important days that you got to bring yourself to do it. How do you manage that, and how do you find the energy to do that every day?
Yeah, this year was the first year I started drinking coffee, Mike. And all jokes aside, there are days when, you really just don't feel like, bringing it. You just got to kind of like trick your mind, like, man, like my team like needs me to, even if they don't need you to, like, you just got to trick your mind into like I got to do this today. And know that it's important to have a good practice. It could be the day before a big game. You're on a 2-day prep. You're still tired. You got to be like, all right, I got to lock in for an hour and a half. Like, it's just an hour and a half. Like, you can do anything for an hour and a half. And I know my mom always used to kind of say that, like, you can do anything for, 5-10 minutes if it's really, really hard. And, a lot of times our practices, mid-season are short, intense. So you just got to put your mind to it and like, all right, I got an hour and a half that I really got to lock in. And a lot of times we know the practice schedule beforehand. Players will always go peek over on the manager table and be like, all right, what do we got today? What do we got today?
Pads or no pads today?
Yeah, right.
No, exactly. So I think I'm the biggest culprit of that. But honest to God, I think like that helps me mentally prepare for practice more than anything, like knowing what we got ahead of us so that I can kind of like mentally prepare for like, all right, like when do I think guys are going to, maybe not have the best energy. If we got a drill at the beginning of practice that, maybe a little bit lighter, like, all right, guys are going to feel good. And then knowing that we have a really tough one after that, like we got to get everyone hyped up and get ready for, to compete, whether we have, like a 4-minute game or we got, a transition drill, something that guys may not, enjoy as much. You got to make sure that, you're bringing the energy for that.
Yeah, from my perspective on that, Will, the 1,000-foot view that I have sitting at home watching your games is, it's like there's a player who knows how he can most impact his team and impact the game, right? Like that's become your persona. And I say to our guys all the time, when you get in the game, have a positive impact one way or another. And I wonder how much, your teammates are like the expectation from you now, right? Like you can't let them down. You got to bring it because that's what they expect from you every single day.
No, yeah, there's even been a few times. Like I remember a few games last year when I was feeling a little bit under the weather that like Danny would always come and like slap me on the leg in the huddle. Like, like lock in. Like we
Yeah.
just need
Need
you
you.
for like,
Yeah.
yeah, like we just need you for like 5 minutes tonight, just 5 minutes, because I'd just be feeling like crap. And you'd just be like 5 minutes, 5 minutes, and I'd be like, all right, I got you. So no, yeah, it's definitely kind of turned into a little bit of an expectation from top to bottom. There was a few games this year where I was definitely, just like you said, like some days you just don't feel like it. And I actually felt like I had a few games this year where I kind of let that get to me a little bit at the beginning of the season. And then it was just kind of like learn from that, don't let it happen again, and felt like I stayed pretty consistent the rest
Yeah,
of the
it was consistent to watch, that's for sure.
Yeah, kudos to you. Well, you got. Can you talk a little bit about next year's squad? You lost the Twin Towers are gone, but now your practices didn't get any easier for you. 7-3 is coming in, and I got a chance to ref Trey McKinney a couple times. Coming in. Can you talk about next year's squad or your expectations for next
Yeah,
year?
obviously, I think expectations are ridiculously high right now.
Mm-hmm.
Not only from the outside. I don't. Obviously, everyone knows that the outside expectation is high, but I think really we're just internally worried about ourselves at this point, knowing kind of our solidified roster and what we have. And I think it's going to be a ridiculously deep group. I think last year we thought we were going to have a ridiculously deep group, but obviously with injuries and playing everything like that coming down in the stretch, we only had about 7 guys. So we're hoping that we could kind of get back to playing, ridiculously fast. I think we really showed that beginning of the season, and then towards the end of the year, we started playing really fast when we went on our run, Big Ten tournament, Purdue. We played really, really fast, things like that. So I think we need to get back to that. Obviously Trey coming in, really, really excited for him to be able to show what he's capable of. He's already been working out at the facility with us, and seems really, really committed to what he's going to do. And then obviously our transfer class speaks for itself. Got a lot of proven players.
Yeah.
Obviously the news about Yax is great.
Pulling
Really
his name
levels up.
out of the draft, you mean?
Yeah.
Recently, yeah.
Really levels up our team. And then having a proven point guard and EC, and then a really good defender and Big Rez is great, and then a big presence in Adai.
You
should
got
be
a
great.
big rim protector there for sure.
So obviously, our front court will be, just fine. Plenty of depth, and then with LJ and Roddy and Namari coming back, just having those core 4 or 5 guys will be so nice. In today's day and age, 4 or 5 guys coming back to play is game changing. So just to be able to have that core is awesome. Obviously 4 really, really good dudes, and super excited to get to have another great year with them as well.
Awesome.
I know you're excited about it. I know we're excited to watch it as well. So
no, yeah, it should be
go get
unreal.
it. Go get
a lot
it.
of fun.
Yeah, cool.
So, well, oftentimes we as coaches preach to our players about dealing with adversity, right? Handling how to respond to that in a game, off the court. You've had your fair share of that during your time at Michigan. 2 years ago, you guys finished last in the Big Ten. Coaching staff that recruited you was let go, yet you decided to stay, which in today's college landscape is a bit of a rarity. And a year later, you're Big Ten champion and make it to the Sweet 16. In a day and age when NIL and portal play such a large role where guys go on a yearly basis, what went into the decision for you to stay at Michigan? And secondly, how vindicating was it for you personally to have the success you had last year?
Yeah, it was obviously really, really, tough choice. I think I was already having a lot of choices to make, necessarily like before our coaching staff was changed, whether or not I was going to, maybe stay, maybe leave, things like that. And then when, Coach Howard, parted ways, it was even more kind of like, oh man, what's going to happen? A lot of things up in the air. So, obviously ridiculously fortunate for, Ward, Coach Beeline, Doug, for them to, do a really thorough job and find the right guy for the job. And, when Coach May came in, his first message, I'll never forget it. He came into the locker room with all the guys who were on the team the year before, and he's like, this is how we're going to play, fast, threes, at rim, at rim twos, unselfish. And I was like, man, this sounds great. And, obviously asked him if I could have a meeting with him and, talked with him. And he was like, just got the job, somewhat familiar with your game, but, let me watch some film. I'll get back to you tomorrow and let's do a workout and we'll see if, I can think that we can make this work. And, had a workout, had another meeting with him and he was like, yeah, like, I think you could really help us. Can't promise really anything, like obviously going to have to earn, spot minutes. But, would really, really love to have you here. And, obviously talked with, Namari a little bit and he was like, yeah, had the same talk with me, like really, really excited about it. Like, I think I'm going to stay. So we were just kind of like, yeah, you know what, like, let's do it. Felt like I trusted the dude right away and turned out to be one of the best decisions I made. My family was really happy. And yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and at the end of
Very,
the
very
day,
excited.
you'll be a
Awesome.
through and through a Michigan man at the end of the day. That is for sure.
Mhm.
All right, so now I'm going to get into a little bit of a topic that's really personal and important to me. Now, Will, I've been around you quite a bit, and I know firsthand kind of the heart you have for others. Kevin Everhart, who played for me and was a manager at Michigan, who's my nephew, and you coordinated to give your personal seats this past season to my dear friend Bobby Patterson, who is battling a rare form of cancer. And he and I were able to attend that unbelievable game against Purdue at home in Ann Arbor, including got all access with the team with you guys after the game. It was something I'm not ever going to forget, to be able to create a memory and experience with my best friend. And as a matter of fact, Will, he said to me on the way home, for 2.5 hours, I forgot I had cancer. That said, I know you have been very involved in giving back in Ann Arbor, in your own community. What are some of the things and organizations that are important to you in your life? And how can we highlight those for you today and help share those organizations or things that are important to you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, giving back to, people is, so important. The wristband I wear is for, this, young kid who had, bone cancer, met him at Mott's, and he was actually getting treatments back in Minnesota at the Mayo Clinic, which is like 15 minutes from my house. So went to go, visit him a few times and developed a, pretty good relationship with him. And he passed away almost 2 years ago now. And, just knowing, how fortunate that a lot of us have it. And although, yeah, we may go through some, hard times or times that we think are hard, like just knowing that, a lot of people out there have it a lot worse than us. So no, it always puts things in perspective. So anytime that, there's an opportunity to do something for someone like that, like it's just an automatic yes. And, my family has had, very close, battles with, cancer. My mom and uncle lost their sister to cancer even before I was born. So, they always kind of said, like, always put things in perspective for people. And, if something ever comes up like that, like you have a chance, you never know what people are going through. You have a chance to make someone's year, someone's, month, day, could be the moment of their life. So
Yeah.
always be, gracious and, give people that opportunity. And, I'm glad that we were able to do that for you guys. And you guys had a great time.
Yeah. And on a personal level, well, I can't thank you enough for what you did for him that night. And you instantly became Bobby Patterson's favorite college basketball player. That is for sure.
And just not as serious as that, but you talk about staying in the moment and pressure. I remember you were at the basketball camp last year, and I just gotten my two boys some new basketball shoes to start the season, and they were Curry's, and that you signed their basketball shoes. So they went for a year now. They've been the Cheddars. What are you wearing today? I'm wearing my Cheddars. They're no longer the Curry shoes. They're the Cheddars. So you made an instant impact, like you said. You never know, but they're walking around wearing their Cheddars. They're not Currys.
That's
for the
awesome.
last year.
Yeah. Now we just need to get Under Armour to throw you some of that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, obviously you're really good at this, and we appreciate you being on. And I don't want to get too far ahead of next year for you, but when your basketball career when your playing days are done professionally, What are you thinking about? What's going to be in the future for you?
Yeah, well, I'm getting my master's in ecological management and sciences, and I'm really passionate about like regenerative agriculture, and feeding people great food. I know it's like
You'll have to
so.
excuse Jim. He can't even
Can you
spell
explain
that.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah, I'm teasing.
like a lot of people look at me exactly how you guys are like, what? But I don't know. It's just like I grew up on a farm, grass-fed beef farm. And, my parents were always super passionate about, knowing where your food comes from and how it's grown and what you're putting into your body. And, when I went to college, scrolling through the majors and I saw this as, a master's program, and I was like, holy crap, like I can actually study, something that I'm really passionate about. My mom has a massive garden, we eat our own beef, we grow our own, we raise our own pork. We had chickens until our dog ate them all. So, just things like that. And, I'm just really passionate about helping, farmers, grow the food that the best they can. And, help to feed a growing population and, keep people as healthy as possible.
Awesome.
Man. And you are got like kudos to you, man. Kudos.
Yeah, you've
right
got
the package, man.
Yeah, you've got it all going on. And I thought the French horn was the most impressive
Yeah.
part, but clearly it's not. You're going into a master's that neither Jim nor I can even spell. So, Will, I want to personally thank you for your friendship and your relationship over the years. Getting to know you has been a really, really blessing for me and my family. And you've always been really good to us. You've come to our camps. You've invited us to games. And we want to thank you for joining today and shedding some light on who Will Tschetter is, how you got to be the player and the person you are today. I think for our listeners, they'll be able to take away some lessons here today about your effort, your energy, what hard work can do for you, and what sticking out tough situations can do for you. So we want to thank you again for coming on, and we wish you the best of luck your senior and final season at University of Michigan. We will be watching and rooting for you guys, and I hope you have a tremendous year.
Can't wait.
Awesome.
Will. Can't wait to see you play. Thank you, man. Thank you.
All right, take care.
All right, take care.
Buddy.
Peace.
All right, bye.
Bye. Well, Jim, that was a really good episode and a really good guest for us to have, Will Tschetter. Talk about a quality young man, right? Like every aspect of his life is successful, academically, socially, his communication skills, and obviously his basketball skills as a Big Ten Division I basketball player. We were really fortunate to have him join us today.
Yeah, we thank him a lot. Really well-rounded young man. Sets the bar really high, really high. So, yep, thank you. So
some of the things we're working on, we hope, and Will kind of referenced it a little bit during the pod, we hope to have a veteran Division I college, highly successful college basketball coach on with us next week. If we can work out the scheduling conflicts and the particulars, we hope to be able to bring that to you next week. So, Jim, any plans this weekend for your McAndrews clan?
We got some Little League stuff going on. Hopefully the Michigan weather cooperates and we're not in the rain, but that's what we got. How about you?
Not much for us. I'm assuming I will have a mile-long honey-do list to get done around the house this weekend. So nothing more than that work for me. So we want to thank you for joining us once again on our third episode of Two Shots in the Ball. We hope you all have a great weekend and look forward to bringing you another episode next week. Take care.
We want to clean in the paint. We're going to call hand checking and body checking, and sportsmanship is an absolute must, okay?
He lets it fly.